This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Well, we can tell you, you're never alone if you're at Harbor Place. Never alone. Gee, what a coincidence. That's the name of the show. Brought to you by Jack Waldrop and everyone at Harbor Place. Jack, a very pleasant good morning to you.
Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Hey, we're doing fine. It's a nice day out there so far.
I wouldn't know. I'm actually in Lawrenceville, Georgia today.
On purpose?
I am.
Oh, man.
It's a little rainy here.
Well, you're probably getting the remnants of the hurricane, I would imagine.
Yeah, we are. We're getting those outside bands.
Wow. Oh, boy. So you've got all sorts of things cooking at Harbor Place. I know that you've got a special guest today.
We do. We have a gentleman named Dwayne Levesque with us today that's going to talk a little bit about aid and attendance, financial planning. He's one of our go-to guys. We have an event coming up next month, and we wanted to get him on and to talk a little bit about that. So, Dwayne, how about you talk about let us know a little bit about you, what your business is, and what we can do for those veterans out there.
Yeah, well, good morning, everyone. Good to be with you, one and all. Happy to share some time with you. I hope you can all hear me clearly here, but I work for a company that had started out a little over 20 years ago with a mission to educate our veterans and their families about a little-known benefit known as aid and attendance. That a lot of people are hearing a little bit more about, but this program's been around since 1954. And when we started our mission some 20 years ago, nobody knew about it, but we've now since educated well over 2 million veterans and their families, helped 15 to 20,000 veterans, or actually 19 to 20,000 veterans and their families apply and receive their full benefit entitlements. But our mission still sticks with educating our veterans and families and letting them know that, hey, this program is out here and available for you. And you need to come in and find out about it, because it can be a lot of good information and life-changing with the financial benefits that are waiting for our wartime veterans out there and their spouses.
Okay.
You know, that's very interesting. Jack, you're going to be bringing on some amazing guests, but I would think the military would have told these people as they were in service that this would be available, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Not so much.
No, well, here's one of the little trivia questions I always ask my live audiences. Of the billions of dollars that go through the VA, which a lot of it is used for good purpose, but either on a line item or a percentage basis, how much of it is put towards promoting and advertising their programs?
Zero.
That's pretty much it. If you want to know about a program, you have to hear from it from somebody, word of mouth, another veteran or somebody that heard, hey, well, you can get some help over here. And that's why our initial founder said, hey, we need to get the word out, especially about this program for our wartime heroes. And that's why we went with a nationwide campaign to educate our veterans and their families about this program, and have been doing it again over 20, coming up close to 25 years to get the word out and say, hey, because until we started it, nobody even heard about this. And because we were the initial the first privately owned organization to step forward and help our veterans. We are the nation's largest privately owned organization helping our wartime veterans. We submit more applications in a month than all the Johnny-come-latelys do in a year. And everybody that follows our step-by-step program, we have a 100% success ratio because we know what we're doing. We know this program better than the VA. I mean, because we have the experts and we do one thing and one thing only, aid and attendance. And it's just getting the word out to the people to say, hey, come in, look at it, see what this program is all about, because you know somebody that can benefit from them, especially if they want to live in a beautiful place like Arbor Place, which I'd love to live myself. But this can make all the difference in the world to help our veterans and their spouses and surviving spouses get the care that they need at the time in life that they really need it. And because as I tell people, this is basically a version of long-term care insurance. Because I always ask my families, do you have any long-term care insurance? And they usually answer no. And I tell them, hey, if we can prove that you're eligible for this benefit, that's exactly the way this works. When you're at your golden years and you're going to need a little help and assistance, you may need to move into a community. This is a program that can help you with those costs at the community. So it's not as big as a sticker shock in some cases to help you say, hey, there's something here that I earned that I didn't even know about that can help me now in my golden years. And that's the big joy in my life, bringing that treasure to these people that didn't even know this program was available, weeks or months ago, that all of a sudden it changed their lives.
So Dwayne, tell us, you mentioned you're kind of a step-by-step program. Tell us a little bit about those steps, what people need to have, what's the qualifications, what are those type things? Okay.
Yep. Well, number one, you need to attend the seminar that we're going to be having over at Arbor Place on the 15th at 2:00.
All right. Sell it, baby.
That way you get me live. No, but no, some of the basics of the program as we educate our people in our online and our live seminars, some of the basics of the program. Number one, we need to prove to the VA that we have a wartime veteran. The definition being that the veteran had to have served 90 consecutive days or more of active military duty, any one day of which was during a wartime era, that they were honorably discharged, and that the beneficiary be over the age of 65. As far as the wartime eras, what they're talking about, that we're still working with, I've actually gone back as far as helping the spouse of a World War I veteran, but we're still helping World War II veterans, and we're seeing more Korea veterans and the Vietnam veterans. But for World War II, it's December 7th, 1941 to December 31st, 1946. If you served for Korea, it's between June 27th, 1950 to January 31st, 1955. Vietnam, there's kind of a tier layer in this, but if you were August 5th, 64 to May 7th of 75, you could have been anywhere, but if you were there during February 28th, 61 to August 6th of 64, you had to be in the theater of Vietnam to qualify. But all the other dates, Korea, Vietnam, it did not matter whether you were in the field of war. You could, as we found, we had a veteran that we helped. He was a chauffeur for a general in World War II. His entire tour of duty was in Washington, D.C., qualified for the benefit. We helped another veteran, World War II veteran. He was in the marching band in Hawaii. His entire tour of duty qualifies for the benefit, because it for the most part is not where you served or what you did, it's when you served. If you get one day within between those dates, you now can move on to the next step of proving that you are entitled to this benefit. Now, if you're a married veteran, you have to prove the marriage history. You need a copy of the marriage and the death or the marriage certificate, and you have to disclose prior marriages. But then they're going to look at income, medical expenses, and assets, because there is a financial equation to this. And a couple of years ago, they turned our world upside down when they changed the regulations and came up with a new fuzzy math that is still confusing even to the VA, but that's where my job comes in, is helping them with that, to collect what they're going to need to prove to the VA, because they're going to look at everything from your gross amount of income, your accountable deductible medical expenses, and your assets, and all of that is now under the purview and look of the VA, because they can now look back 3 years on your income and assets in order to prove eligibility. So you really have to know what you're doing to circumnavigate the world of the VA, because if you leave something blank, you put something on the wrong line, you're kicked out of the line. Now, instead of going through the express line as we do, you're over there and you can be hung up for weeks, months, and even years, as I did, which is the other change. They made the program easier. Back when I submitted the application for my mom and dad as a novice, it was a 23-page application.
That's
and
ridiculous.
It had a one day look back, and they hung me up in the system for 2 years before they granted my parents any money. That's when I had the life-changing event to go out and help our wartime veterans navigate this world with the help of the professionals that I work with. That right now it's with the man that has been with us for over 15 years, John Casterline. He is a VA accredited, board certified elder law attorney that oversees everything we've done to make sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. We have all the documents that are required to submit to make sure that it is a 100% approvable application before it goes in. He reviews it, makes sure it's done correctly, signs off on it as their representative, submits it to the VA, helps track it all the way through the system until they get the approval, and helping them with every step of the way. And I'm right there with them, because my job is to guide them through and make sure they have everything the attorney's going to need. So I converse with the families one-on-one to help them through this process.
So Dwayne, is there an average amount, kind of the benefits that they get?
Oh, interesting question. Right to the money, I say.
We want to make sure everybody knows that amount.
Well, that is true, because we're not just talking a couple of dollars over here.
Right.
No, if you are a veteran and a spouse, that you can receive up $27,540 per year, which is the equivalent of $2,295 tax-free money for the rest of your life, as long as you comply with the guidelines. If you are a single veteran, a veteran only to claiming the veteran benefit, it's a little over $23,000, but it's $1,936, again, tax-free money every month to help you pay your ever-increasing medical expenses. The next category is a surviving spouse. That's just under $15,000. That is $1,244 tax-free money every month. Now, this benefit will increase on an annual basis based on the cost of living adjustment, much like Social Security. But those are the basics. And if you happen to be two veterans married to each other, there's the grand prize. That's $36,852 a year, or $3,071 per month. Now, I mentioned the category of a surviving spouse, and we always like to clarify that one, because we've had the widows of veterans coming in. You might be surprised. There's a couple of our veterans that have been married 3 times. So when they come in, the VA is looking specifically at what they term the surviving spouse of a wartime veteran. And the definition of that is you had to have been married to the veteran for at least 1 calendar year, married to him at the time of his passing, and not remarried since. So if you divorce them or, whatever, you're not entitled. But if you can prove the marriage history that you are the surviving spouse, and the easiest ones when they find true love, and that was the only one they were married to, you don't have to go through a whole lot of litany of history to prove to the VA that you're entitled to the benefit, because the irony is the benefit is tied to the veteran, period. So, but anyway, the VA makes you jump through more hoops, because I mentioned it used to be a 23-page application. Now it's up to 48 pages, and that does not include the supporting documentation. And they have a 3-year look back on income and assets, as I mentioned. So you got to know how to navigate the water. It's not your grandpa's VA anymore. So
sure. And I think it's important to know too, if the veteran and the spouse divorce, if the veteran remarries, his current wife is now the surviving spouse, correct?
That is correct. She takes over the #1 spot. So, and I had a situation one day that I had 2 ladies that I sat down with, and both of them were married 3 times, all three times to wartime veterans. But in one case, the last marriage, she was married to him at the time of his passing. She was entitled to the benefit. The other lady, unfortunately, divorced the last one and was not entitled to the benefit. It's that, and she says, well, I was married to another veteran that, I was married to him when he died. But yes, but you remarried. You lost that benefit. You should, But anyway, I've had a lot of the little ladies that said, "Ooh, I should have rethought that divorce thing," but it's too late now.
I just think if she would have married 3 veterans, she would have gotten $6,000 a month. No, I'm
well, unfortunately, I like the way you think, but the VA is not going to let you do that one. No, it's much like the veterans that I have. I've had a couple of them that have served in several wars, and they ask me, "Does that mean I get twice as much money?" No,
they should.
No,
they served in multiple wars.
Yeah, you would think, okay, the more wars, here you go, you get more. No, that's no, and they have their guidelines, and it's quite challenging, because there are 3 regional offices across the United States that you have to submit these applications to, and we work with all 3 of them. And the regulations, each office has a different way of interpreting the rules and regulations. So you have to know their lingo, and we do. Which brings me back to John Castelline, who's been with us for now close to, if not over 15 years, and has over 15,000 approvals for 100% of the full benefit amount. And that's why I challenge anybody out there, you go out and find me another VA accredited, board certified elder law attorney that has over 15,000 100% approvals for VA benefits. There's only one, and we have him. Why? Because he's been there almost since our conception, and has been true and loyal, and he runs the show. He knows how to speak their language. We know the terminology that they're looking for. We share that with your clients, our clients, to make sure that the paperwork is done and done properly. Because again, if you report something even slightly, case in point, we had a case last year, and it made absolutely no sense. Because the source for the VA is they will go to Social Security, they will go to the IRS, they will pull up your records for 3 years. We had a case last year that there was a discrepancy on bank interest of 2 cents. We're not sure which way, positive or negative, but they held up that case for 6 months until the client explained why there was a discrepancy. That's why when we do an application, we not only tell them in the application, here's what's going on with VA, but here's the document to prove it. We tell them we prove it, we tell them we prove it, we tell them we prove it. Everything has to be there and get by me before we even go to the attorney. And now we know we're ready to go. This is a slam dunk. If not, we're going to withhold it until we get it there. That's what we do.
So now, Dwayne, when you do that, does the veteran or their spouse, do they get back pay? Say we apply for it in June, but it's not accepted until July or August. Do they back pay to the original date that you applied?
Very good question. Close to it. Here's how that works. And that's one of the misconceptions, and I've heard that over the years. Oh, it's retroactive back to the day you moved into the community. No, it's not. That's like saying, hey, there's a new employment center over here. They're going to be hiring 5,000 people, but I never put in an application, but I'm sure I'm going to get a job. No, you're not.
Right.
Here's how it works. With the VA, once the application goes into the VA and they receive it, they will date stamp it. It'll have an effective date of the first of the month following that date stamping. So if they got it today on the 31st, it would have an effective date of tomorrow, the 1st. Then if it takes them 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, it's retroactive back to the first of the month after the date stamping. But you have to be on record in order to get it in. But sometimes it may take them a little bit of time, especially when they change the rules and regulations. Their turnaround time went in the tank.
Sure.
Because you also threw in COVID on top of it. So,
right.
So the VA was in shambles, but somehow they seemed to work through it. And we figured out their lingo and their language now, and we're seeing better turnaround times. And we can't guarantee anything. It's all in the hands of the VA. But that's why I know we have an assurance. We have somebody at the home office. Her job is doing nothing but picking up the phone and calling the VA and saying, okay, where's this case at? Where's this one at? What are you looking for? Is there anything missing? And everything looked good. You have everything you need. If not, let us know. Boom. And we continue to follow up to make sure that it moves in a pithy manner through the process, which usually the majority of them are going to go, because especially if they're done by me. I'm a stickler for details.
I bet she listens to a whole lot of hold music. Probably knows this. She's probably writing words to those songs.
Yeah. Well, if she gets somebody on the phone, she has like 5 of them lined up, and then she hangs up and
I'm
calls
sure.
back in again. And because we don't want to annoy them. And again, when we're doing that, we know their lingo. You call in, and as I've done through personal. When I dealt with my mom and dad, you call the VA, you're going to talk to 15, you're going to talk to 12 different people, you're going to get 15 different answers. Sir, just send in the papers, fill it out, send it in, we'll let you know when you get it right. Excuse me? Yeah. What is this, a game show? Tell me what you need. Sir, I can't do that. I'm not your case file, because you're not going to talk to the case file holder. You're going to talk to somebody who's got you on a computer screen. And I can speak from personal experience. You know? I was doing it for 2 years, but they didn't realize Dwayne doesn't give up.
Yeah.
You want to know something about my personality? As my mother would always says, just tell Dwayne something can't get done and get out of his way, because he will not stop until he proves you wrong. The VA got in my way of my dad's benefits. They're sorry they did. But that's the attitude I bring back. It's like, hey, if you're eligible, we're going to do everything to get you your money. If you're not, we're going to advise you and say, here's what you need to fix. Here's what you need to do. Some people under the new guidelines with a 3-year look back, they may have to start preparing now in order to qualify 3 years from now under the new financial regulation. Well, we can also help them with that to say, hey, why not prepare for this? We know if we live long enough, we're going to need some care. We're going to need some help, which is the whole thing. With talking about you and your community, here's the big trigger. Let me highlight a little bit on that, because we talk about income. They're looking at all sources of gross income, Social Security, pensions, annuities, dividends, interest, as I mentioned. They're going to take that all into account, and they're going to verify that. As far as countable deductible medical expenses, their definition is they're looking for the out-of-pocket, non-reimbursed, reoccurring medical expenses. What the hell did he just say? Well, you're thinking, okay, medical expenses, drugs, doctors, this and that. Well, that's not what the VA is looking for. Here's what they're looking for. Again, deciphering their code. They're looking for the premium that is taken out of the Social Security check for Medicare Part B, which starts at $148.50 and goes up from there based on an income sliding scale. Well, we need to know that. We need to document that. They're looking at the premiums for your health insurance, the supplemental insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, AARP, but bringing it back to that beautiful Arbor Place. If you were to move into Arbor Place, a beautiful community, and your doctor states for your own health, safety, and well-being, you reside at a beautiful community such as Arbor Place, and you are required under your doctor's orders to receive the assistance with some of the activities of daily living that are acceptable to the VA. Once the doctor signs that, that is legally a prescription. But instead of taking it to the CVS or the Walgreens, you're taking it to Jack over at Arbor Place and saying, hey, the doctor says my mom, my dad, he needs to be in a safe and protected environment, and she or he is going to need a little assistance with the activities of daily living. What are those? Those are the items that the younger generation may take for granted, but as we go through our golden years, we're all going to need a little help with. The ones that the VA will currently accept would be bathing assist, or dressing assist, or continuity care, or transitioning in and out of beds and chairs, actual assistance with dining, which does not include going down to those beautiful dining rooms, but actually means you need somebody to help cut up your food and consume it. And the one that they added recently was ambulating, which means not only do you use a cane or a walker, but you need somebody walking alongside of you to get you from your room to your dining room and back. But the new under the new guidelines, you have to have at least 2 of those in play in order to trigger the benefit. The easiest ones is bathing and dressing. Why? Because usually if they show up to bathe you, they're not going to leave you standing there stark naked, dripping wet in the middle of the living room. They dry you up and get you dressed for
Let's
the
hope
day.
not. Let's hope not.
Yeah. Unless they personally request that.
Right.
And I'm not going to name names.
Now, Dwayne, how about reminders for meals? Say someone that has cognition issues, does reminders for meals fall into that category?
Well, that's part of being in the protected environment, and that falls on you guys to handle that. No, they're looking for those specific ones that have to be triggered in order to get the VA. One that is not on there that I don't agree with, but they took it off because the Johnny-come-latelys abused it, was medication management.
Right.
And we all know once they're off their medications, everything else happened. Well, rather than sticking to the true definition of medication management that the VA had, the other guys kind of abused that. Because here's what the VA truly meant. It meant that you have somebody that is managing that medication. They're there and giving it at the proper time, at the proper dose. And here it is. Here's your little cup of water. I want to see you take it. Right. I want to make sure you swallowed it. That's medication management. The other guys were using little pill boxes and having somebody call mom to say, hey, mom, don't forget to take your pills. Well, mom didn't realize that she already took the pill. Now their daughter reminded her, so she took the pill again. Or no, she didn't take the pill. And the daughter called and said, hey, mom, don't forget to take your pill. By the time she's off the phone, she forgot to take her pill. That's why the VA got a little PO'd. And we thought under the new guidelines, they were going to bring it back. They have not. They're not letting that one in. So that's why when we need to, we usually start with bathing and dressing. Why? If you have balance issues, if you have arthritis, I mean, there's so many reasons, because where do most accidents happen in the home? The bathroom and the kitchen.
Right.
Now you're talking our seniors, usually in their 80s and their 90s, they have a tendency to fall. As I tell my mother, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. But mom, you do. Use your walker.
Exactly. Yep, that's what it's meant for.
You know, and I just look back at the days with my dad, who lived to be 101, that she used to scold him. She's now 94. My dad lived to 101. And Peter, use your walker. Peter, don't go anywhere without your cane. Now I tell you, it's not easy raising parents these days.
Yeah, you are right about that.
I remember them when they were younger. They were so much easier to take care of. You get them cleaned up.
They were so independent.
And they come home at a responsible hour. Now, not so much.
So now, Dwayne, you talked about income levels. Is there a level including assets that people need to be aware of? Is there like a
Well,
general
well,
rule of thumb?
yeah, no, there's another misnomer in there, but I love them. That's why I'm here. Now, number one, as far as an income level, no, not per se, because it's an income to medical expense ratio.
Okay.
Much like I tell people, if the government was doing it that way, you would go in and you would pay taxes on your gross amount of income. You would, but you were able to take and do some of your deductions, and then you pay on the net. The VA looks the same way. They're looking at your gross amount of income from all sources, and then you deduct the ones that I mentioned, your Medicare Part B, any and all insurance premiums, and the room and board and care. Once that's put into the equation, that will usually flip the income to medical expense ratio, because basically you have to go negative. You have to be spending more than you have coming in as far as gross income. And usually the biggest number in that equation is getting mom and dad into the protected environment of a licensed community, getting them the care and letting the professionals take over. So when you visit mom and dad, you're sitting down and having a nice meal in the dining room instead of trying to go out and do all their shopping and doing this and running around and they're already taken care of. Now you can spend quality time with mom and dad at the community. So it takes the burden off the family and lets the professionals do it, which is the goal of the VA. They're saying, let the professionals do it. We'll pay. We'll help you by giving you tax-free money to take care of our heroes.
So what you're saying is, for a veteran, it actually benefits them to move into an assisted living because they are getting that free amount of money.
Well, I can actually speak of a case that I did some years back here at Harbor Place, because I've been with them for a long time, ever since.
Yes, you have.
I've got a history. But there was a gentleman and his wife that I helped them way back when, that they moved into independent living. And we initiated the program. We did the planning that was required by the VA. They lived there until the point that she needed to go to assisted living for a little bit, and ended up over at Life Care, right there on the same campus.
Right.
And she came back and forth, but eventually she ended up passing away 8 years into this. He was there for another 2 years, collecting the benefit before the good Lord called him home. If you total it all up, it was for over 10 years. They collected over $25,000. They got $250,000 of tax-free money to pay our wartime veteran to live in your community. And he passed away in independent living. He never ended up, and that's the thing I noticed. If you get them there early, you get the care early, you will slow the progression of going from independent to assisted and into a nursing home, because you have the professionals watching over them every day to take care of them. And that's the other thing. I've seen the longevity of the families that they start early instead of waiting till the last minute. And it's like, oh, hey, I just moved mom into the community yesterday and we need the benefit the day before that. Can you help me? No, no,
Right.
Let's get a plan, because if we all live long enough, we're going to get there. You know, why not plan on it? Why not educate yourself as using this VA benefit to get tax-free money to take care of our heroes and his bride? Why would you not want to know about it to see if it would apply to your family? Because it's not going to cost you anything for us to take a look at it. Give us some information. We'll tell you, hey, here's where you're at. What do you want to do? Do you want to move forward, or do you, and some people, oh no, I just don't want to bother. Okay, fine. I don't have time. I'm moving forward.
Right. Well, and I think that was a good point that you made. There's a common misconception that just because you're in independent living means that you won't qualify. There's a difference between living in a 55 and older home and an atmosphere and a community but living on an independent campus, especially one that has independent to assisted to skilled, there's a difference there. So I mean, that's a good point, that you can get qualified by living in an independent living if it's truly an independent living and not a 55 and older
Yeah. That is correct. The 55 and older isn't going to get you there. You have to be licensed with staff and personnel and everything to provide, because again, it's not just the veteran and they that have to qualify. The community has to meet a certain standard, that you have to be licensed, you have to be providing certain things, which, that's all part of it. And we help them piece all of those puzzles together. Because here's one thing I always remind everybody: once you come to us and you have either an original or a certified copy of the discharge papers, it basically levels the playing field. Because now it comes down to income, medical expenses, and assets. And we've had cases it was, you could have been a buck private in there for 91 days, or you could have been a full bird colonel retiring 40 years later. That you're still going to get the same benefit, but they're going to look at your income, medical expenses, and assets. And we have never seen two families that have identical income, medical expenses, and assets. It's impossible.
Right.
That's my job, to make sure that financial house is in order, because without that, I don't care how many VA forms you get. I don't care how many documents you send in, how many T's you cross properly or I's you dot properly. You will not get the benefit if your financial house does not stand. You have to have that income, medical expenses, and assets lined up perfectly, and they will put you under a microscope. Trust me, they have contact with every government agency out there, and they're using them. As I say, their source for income, they go directly to Social Security and the IRS, and they get records going back 3 years. So if there's something amiss, they're going to know. And that's why we have to disclose that.
Yeah, Dwayne, realistically, I know you mentioned, you had to fight with the VA for a couple of years for your parents. Realistically, from the initial time that you work with the folks to, the finally, that they get it, what are we looking at? Is that months, maybe a year? Do you know?
Well, I love this question. So now, what we typically tell people, expect 5 to 6 months, because otherwise, after we send it in 2 weeks later, they're calling, well, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard. No, give it some time. After a couple of months, we're going to start calling. But usually we tell people, hey, because when I'm doing the financial planning, I want to make sure they have the financial wherewithal to make sure that they're going to be able to do this either. You can't run out of money while you're waiting to be approved. That would be a bad plan. And they'd have to move out. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want move outs. We want move ins, don't we, Jack? Anyway.
Yes. We don't like move outs. We want you to be with us for a long time.
So I'm looking out for you, buddy. Anyway, but so no, as far as the time, we tell people 5 to 6 months. As I say, the VA has gotten much better here lately. But no, my worst case scenario was 14 months, and that was under the old system. And the VA lost the entire folder. They lost everything. Luckily, we had copies of everything. We got it back on track, but it took them 14 months to get their act together. And it was a slam dunk case, but they screwed it all up. No, here lately, even under the new guidelines, we're seeing them. I had one that was said beat the company record, which was 8 days. I had one that came in under the new regulations, surprised the hell out of everybody because it was over the holidays. And if you subtract the holidays, they did it in 4 days, which means they can do it. Now, am I going to go out there and promise that? No. No. I understand they tracked that person down. He was fired, and even and if they didn't fire him, they moved him to a department in the government where he would not be as competent, and they overwhelmed him so he could be like the rest of them. And it's like you don't belong here.
Right.
So, but I'm just saying.
But it seems to me, Dwayne, if that it's taken 5 to 6 months, if someone can actually afford to go ahead and move into an assisted living, that's going to make their medical out of pocket income, their income to medical expense ratio offset as well. If they're already living in that, then it's even easier to prove that offset is there, correct?
Well, you have to be living there. We cannot submit a hypothetical.
Okay.
I can work with all the hypotheticals all day long, and that's why I like with Miss Pat over at Harbor Place. Go see Miss Pat. Say hello, Miss Pat. Anyway, no, what I like to do, because I have a background in real estate. I was for over 36 years a nationally designated state certified real estate appraiser. I valued everything from postage stamp lots to golf course communities and everything else in between. Testified as an expert witness in every court on the Treasure Coast, as well as U.S. bankruptcy court, and never lost a case. Why? Because I'm a detailed number kind of guy. So, but when I build a case, I answer the questions before they have a chance to ask it. But no, what I like to do is kind of look at myself as kind of the mortgage broker and making sure, let's look at your finances and make sure you can afford to live here. Then we move into the community. Now, once you physically move into the community, now we're getting ready to start submitting all the paperwork. So by the end of that month, we're on record with the VA. Then whether it takes them 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, you're retroactive back to the first of the month right after you moved into the community. So you try and time it, because what I have found is some of the families, because there's always two sides to that coin. How long does the VA take? I've had some families, well, I've been working with them for years and I still haven't heard back from them. How long does it take them? Because they have to get documents. I can't go through mom and dad's file cabinets to pull the documents out. They have to be proactive. And that's why we always like, hey, mom and dad may not be able to handle this. We need a proactive family member to help us with this, because this can be overwhelming. Trust me. Trust me. A lot of them said, Dwayne, if it wasn't for you there, I would have quit. This is not worth it. But you were there coaching me every minute, helping and guiding me, making sure that we had all the right documents. And then once it goes in, the family is ecstatic. And I've got families across the Treasure Coast I've never met, but they all love me. It gets really confusing on Thanksgiving. Now, where am I going to go this year? Because I'm invited to all the, just because you changed their world. All of a sudden, mom who had to go somewhere, she can't live at home. She can't be on her own. She's got to go somewhere. Let's turn on the VA benefits so she can move into a beautiful community. Let the government help pay for it and take the burden off the family. And when they get that first check, even if it took 6 months and they get a check for $6,000, and knowing every month after that for the rest of their life, as long as they stay in compliance, that money will be there to help take care of mom and dad. And that is just a burden off of them and everybody else, because now the professionals are doing their thing and it's being covered because of our heroes' service to our country.
And a lot of times that benefit,
it's a win-win.
Yeah, and a lot of times that benefit makes the difference between some place that's okay and the place that mom really wants to be at, because they need that little extra money.
Yep. And it also gets them looking at the Taj Mahals that still doesn't work.
True.
So, it's like, well, we're starting with your base income here, let's, that's what I try and do as the financial guy. I mean, I tell them, hey, find the one that mom and dad's going to like. And a lot of them like the Taj Mahals over there, which I think you guys are. I love that place. In fact, our original owner, when I took her there and the vice president the first time, they said, Dwayne, I thought you were going to take us to one of your communities, not to a 5-star hotel. I said, no, this is my community. They said, you're kidding me. That's the feel. I mean, you're just in luxury when you walk in there. I mean, that's the way it made me feel. Anyway, but no, some of them want the upper price, and then I bring them back to reality and say, hey, we got X amount of income coming from your sources. We're turning on a fixed amount of income from the VA. You're still on a fixed income. We have to work within a budget. And that's when I'm working with them. I want to know details, even though the VA doesn't count their prescription drugs and doctor copays and other little incidentals. They don't care about that, because that's medical. No, but I do, because there's a big difference when you're putting a plan together and they got $5 a copay for prescription drugs, or they got $1,500 as a copay for their prescription drugs. You want to talk about a budget buster that if you didn't ask that would change that plan, because somebody's going to have to pay for it,
Right.
So, and there's other items in there that the family doesn't think about. I bring them down and say, hey, let's put a plan together to make sure that we're going to be able to take care of mom and dad. So they're not going to have to worry about money. Just like my good friend, he lived for 10 years. He never worried about money. I mean, all the bills were paid, as every other family I've helped. And
we take it one step. I know at Harbor Place, we take it one step further. So even if they don't qualify for aid and attendance, meaning they don't meet some portion of that step-by-step process, we do offer a VA discount to our veterans and our veteran spouses, so that it is affordable, no matter if you're approved for VA or not.
Yeah, and it's things like that, just giving back to our veterans. I mean, because they're my heroes. Because and everybody asks me, well, Dwayne, why do you do what you do? And they say, did you serve? And no, I did not. So I'm going to go into my little why I do a thing here. But it's all because of my dad that I mentioned that passed away at 101 years young. But I always tell his story. When he was born was in 1912 in northern Maine. So far north, you had to look south to see Canada. But being the last of 13 children when World War II broke out, he felt it was his obligation to serve our country on behalf of the Levesque family. So at 31 years of age, he volunteered and went into the Army. He was shipped down to Camp Shelby, where in the hot Mississippi sun, he and his fellow soldiers went through their basic training. And when they were deployed, they were now known as the 296 Combat Engineers. And where they put boots on the ground was a little beach you may have heard of called Normandy. Now, my dad is 32 years of age on the beaches of Normandy with the 18, 19, 20-year-old boys. He's also in northern France, the Ardennes, the Rhineland, the Battle of the Bulge, through Central Europe and right on into Germany. Because if you understand the mission of the 296 Combat Engineers, these were the boys, the men that were being bombed and were being shot at, were clearing minefields and building bridges in front of Patton. And we all know Patton's theory of war was, we don't hold, we advance. That man, those boys are my heroes. And every day I got a chance to talk to my dad before he passed away at 101 years young. His first question was, Dwayne, are you still helping my veterans? And I would say, Dad, yes, I am. And he'd say, thank you. And I said, Dad, you don't have to thank me. It is my honor. It is my privilege. And I promise you this, I will do no harm. So I honor my dad every day by picking up the banner of the 296 Combat Engineers, and I'm here to clear minefields and build bridges to the VA benefit. And I've been very, very successful at it. Unless they decide that they want to wander off into the minefield on their own, they want to use a suicide vest and blow up their own case. And I've seen that one happen many a time. It's like, no, do what I tell you to do and you'll be okay. Well, I want to do it this way. No, we're doing it this way because that's the VA. So, but no, that's what I do. I honor my dad and I take care of his veterans and his families, and I'm honored to do so. I love my job. when I'm successful and I can see how it changes those families. Oh, what a difference. Like I say, I get people calling me all the time and just thank you, Dwayne. Thank you.
So Dwayne, tell us again, what's the event that you're going to be speaking at?
Well, that will be at a little event over there at Arbor Place on the 15th at 2:00. And I believe that's 3700 Southeast Jennings Road, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
I might have that in my instant map quest over there. Every time I leave the house, I seem to be driving by. I don't know why. So.
Yep. So if you want to attend the event with Dwayne, where he's going to go into detail and give a little presentation again for our veterans, give us a call at the building. We'll be happy to put you on the RSVP. Again, Dwayne, thank you so much for being with us. Tell everybody again how they can get in touch with you. So if we have a veteran that's listening in, that they can get straight in touch with you as well.
Yeah, no, if they wanted to reach me directly, the best number is my electric leash, as I call it. It goes everywhere with me. It's 772 right here locally, 342-4677. And if you call, you don't get me, you leave a voicemail, you will get a call back. Try that with the VA. Not to throw my buddies over at the VA under the bus. I love you guys, I really do. But this is our specialty. But anyway, no, love it. And they can call me again at 772-342-4677. If they don't get me, because I'm on and off the phone constantly, just leave a message. I'll call you back and show you how you get started. Well,
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Dwayne, for joining us. Once again, I am Jack Waldrop from Harbor Place at Port St. Lucie, independent and assisted living. We're a campus right in the heart of Port St. Lucie, been around for 20 years. Come see us, come take a tour. Pat, my wonderful sales director, would be happy to show you around. Myself, anybody that's there, again, would be happy to show you. We're resort style assisted living and independent living right in the heart of Port St. Lucie. Come to our event coming up on the 15th with Dwayne. We'll be excited to see you there. Don't forget, we have other things going on. We have our super bingo coming up in September. We're going to have a guest that's coming out to call bingo there. Remember, you can come and do any type of activity from cardio drumming. Next week, hopefully, we're going to talk to Bethany, my lifestyles director, as she goes into what our independent living and assisted living activity lifestyle looks like, so you can get an idea of what that is, because it's not just about playing bingo. We do a lot of things to make sure that the body and the mind is where it's supposed to be. And then we do offer some of those activities that she does open to the public. Cardio drumming, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you've ever done that. It's a big exercise ball, and you get to bang with drumsticks on it as much as you want to and as loud as you want to a song. And it is a whole lot of fun. So those are just a couple of the events coming up. We're getting ready to plan a few more. We have a wonderful doctor that's going to come in and speak. We had a great event last week with Dr. Munez about acupuncture and herbs. If you missed that, you can actually go on the radio station's website and listen to our show from last Tuesday. She spoke on our radio show, and then again came into the event on Wednesday. So you're able to go in and look at that and give her a call for any type of consultation. I'm sure she would love to talk to you. So again, I'm Jack Waldrop with Harbor Place at Port St. Lucie. Greg, thanks for having us. We enjoy our Never Alone series every week.
Well, I think I've got an idea here. And I think maybe, those big exercise balls, maybe we should do a show on that for a while.
On cardio drumming?
Yeah, I'm bouncing around a little bit and
that would be funny.
I'll kill myself on that thing. Oh boy, I don't know. But yeah, it's Dwayne said it. It's you guys are so fortunate at Harbor Place, because it is truly an amazing place where you're never alone. And hey, we'll see you next week. Okay.
Sounds good. See you next week.
All right. Jack Waldrop, Executive Director of Arbor Place. And I want to thank Dwayne as well. And I have a suspicion we might hear from him one more time before we have the actual seminar at Harbor Place. And seriously, folks, get your reservations in, because this is really important stuff. Okay. You've been listening to Never Alone right here on WPSL Port St. Lucie, Talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world on Alexa, Google Home, and tune in. It's 12 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Rocket Mortgage.
I'm Steve Kathan. Water, food, generators, you name it, they need it in parts of Louisiana and Mississippi hit hardest by Hurricane Ida.
I'm Jim Crisula in New Orleans. Local officials are telling people who